I'd like to first ask the audience an important question. Who here would consider themselves to be ambitious? Me. Okay, I see some hands. Well, what does ambition really mean, and how does it drive us towards success? See, ambition doesn't have one precise definition, because really it varies from person to person, depending on how they view themselves and what they expect for their future. To me, ambition isn't just about the strong desire to achieve success or achieve something. It's more about setting high expectations for ourselves and embracing uncertainty. Yes, ambition is amazing. It fuels us with the passion we need to achieve our goals and grant us success. However, when we don't have a real grasp of it, it can be our own demise. What I'm referring to is what I grew up hearing, and I think it's safe to say we've all heard this at some point. The idea that if we work hard and we can live the American dream and have all the opportunities in the world given to us. But by pushing this idea and focusing on that, it only emphasizes the result of ambition and not the necessary determination and commitment it takes to get us to success. It focuses on the wanting rather than doing. And the problem that arises with this is that it views ambition as a formula, or a certain set of rules, if you will, that if we follow it, we can achieve anything. The problem with this is that it makes us entitled to success. Because when that formula fails, what happens? We panic. We dwell on what we can't do, we dwell on our mistakes, and develop the psychological trap that limits us to our circumstances. We tie ourselves to the idea that we always have to be good and the best at something in order to feel good about ourselves and to believe in ourselves. And the moment that we face adversity or failure or make a mistake, we resign. And so we put all our efforts back into what we know we're best at, in an attempt to forget about that experience of failure. In fact, when we win, when we succeed, our brain releases dopamine and testosterone. And this effect is called the winning effect, and it was studied by Ian H. Robertson. He studied this and found that with repetition and with time, it chemically configures the brain to how successful people feel about achieving something. It makes them feel more confident, more intelligent, and more likely to continue succeeding. And the same can be said about losing. There is an opposite reaction to this. It's called the losing effect. And this was studied by Earl Miller, a neuropsychologist from MIT, and he studied a group of monkeys and monitored the behavior, or monitored their reaction to failure or a mistake. And he found that when he asked this group of monkeys to perform a task, if they made an error in the process of it, even if proficiently doing the task before, after the error, their proficiency levels continued to decrease significantly. In comparison to the ones that never made an error, their proficiency levels maintained the same or increased. And my point here is we parallel the same behavior. A mistake, feeling limited in comparison to others, makes us feel demoralized. It affects our concentration, our performance, and how we perceive the circumstances that we might be in. And I have a very simple philosophy for how to avoid this psychological trap. Don't settle. And those two words can go very far. My grandma, she used to tell me that we determine our own expectations, but we also create our own limits. And the culture that I grew up in, settling is not an option, mostly. And in my family, our beliefs are rooted in not allowing a temporary situation to determine our future and our potential. My grandma, she grew up in a very small pueblo village next to the capital of Colombia, South America. She never had the opportunity for a high school education. But when she grew up, she met my grandfather, they married, started a family of 5, and moved to the capital of the city, Bogota. However, she still had that dream of wanting to get a high school education. And at the time, there weren't many resources like we have now, where it's an online program or maybe a GED, but there was something, and it was actually a radio broadcast program, and it would play every day from 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. And it required to do work and take certain exams, but if you followed this program, you could actually get a high school education. And that's what she did every day for 4 years, while raising a family, while still working. She got her high school credit eventually and went on to become a general nurse. However, times got a bit more difficult when my grandfather, who was a police officer, he was shot and passed away. And so my mother, she had to take on the role of raising her 4 other siblings, being in high school and working while only being 15. A year later, she graduated from high school at the top of her class with a full-ride scholarship to one of the best universities in Colombia. She didn't allow a temporary circumstance to limit her. She didn't dwell on the uncertainty in life and all the possibilities of failure. And now, when she graduated from university, she met my father. That's when I come into the picture, and they decided to move to the United States. When I got here, I was 3, so it was really easy for me to pick up English. I became fluent very quickly, and I was put in ESL classes, which is very common for many students who don't have English as their native tongue. But eventually, I kind of grew out of these classes, and I was at a much higher level than those classes. And what that was actually doing was taking me out of core level classes that should have been at my level, that are very important for your developmental years, like mathematics, social studies, science, reading, and it was making me fall behind. My mother, she saw this, and so she asked the teacher to take me out of the class. And she said no, because English is my second language, and I needed to be in ESL for all of my elementary years. And so she went to the principal. The principal also said, no, it said that English isn't my native language, and I needed to stay in ESL classes. But she didn't want to settle. She didn't want this limitation to make me fall behind in comparison to my other peers, because she saw the consequences that that could have in my future. So she went to the school board. And finally, after a lot of testing, conferences, meetings, I was put out of the ESL classes, and she was actually one of the first Hispanic mothers to take her child out of ESL. And now I look back at moments like this and think about what if my mom allowed me to be limited by these circumstances. And in moments like this, self-doubt, uncertainty, fear, or lack of motivation mean absolutely nothing. And now this applies to you guys. I'm not here to tell you some profoundly new discovery. I'm here to remind you about something that we all sometimes seem to forget about ourselves. We all have the potential to be ambitious. We all have that ability. We have to embrace the uncertainty in life. Even if we experience failure or losing, there's something else that can always be done. And if we say that we've done everything that is possible, then really re-examine and reevaluate what it is you're telling yourself. Life is constantly in motion, it's unpredictable, and the best thing that we can do is be in motion ourselves with it. We won't know how our future will turn out until we take action. And part of having this mentality, following this philosophy, is being okay with the spontaneity of life, the unpredictability, but also never allowing ourselves to succumb or be limited to our circumstances. And also we have to ultimately accept the fact that in the grand scheme of things, the universe owes us nothing. There are no guarantees in life. And sometimes our hard work doesn't even feel like it's paying off. But it always does. Approach life like a series of experiments. In an experiment, there's something that we don't know. We don't know the result of it. And in the confines of this metaphor, that thing that we're searching for, this experiment, it's our goals, our dreams, our ambitions. We won't know the result of that experiment until we run it. And sometimes the experiment doesn't go how we planned or how we even expected it would, but that's okay because we still learn from it. We still gain some experience from it. And so, in life, take advantage of those experiments. Take advantage of the opportunities you have rather than expecting them to just simply be given to you. Embrace what you learn from those experiments, the data you collect, and embrace the uncertainty. And there we can create a culture where we get gratification from refusing to settle, refusing to resign, and learning from that, rather than simply just